Tonight on Connecticut's news station, a house surrounded but still no suspect in sight. Law enforcement on the hunt for a man suspected in a deadly mass shooting. We have the latest from the search and how Connecticut is pitching in to help.
And with the senseless violence still heavy on people's hearts, the shooting in Maine is reigniting difficult conversations around gun control. We'll hear from experts who are weighing in.
And after weeks of waiting, 12 people have been selected to serve as jurors in the trial of Michelle Troconis. We'll tell you when it's set to begin.
Now at 10, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
And we begin tonight in Maine, an entire state on high alert as the suspect in a mass shooting remains at large. Thanks for joining us here at 10. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. Law enforcement still looking at a number of areas for the man they believe carried out that mass shooting. He's identified as Robert Card.
It has been an intense scene in Maine, specifically in the town of Bowdoin, where authorities have had a home owned by Robert Card surrounded for hours. Police negotiators, SWAT teams, tactical groups all focused on this home, calling out to Card to come out of the home peacefully. At this hour, we don't know if Card was in fact inside that home or if authorities were able to make contact with him after an hours-long standoff on that rural road in Bowdoin, not too far from where the deadly shootings happened.
And this all started last night, just before 7 p.m. in Lewiston. A 911 call came in saying there was a man firing shots at Just-in-Time Recreation, which is a bowling alley. Around 20 minutes later, multiple calls inside Schmenge's Bar and Grill reported the same thing 4 miles away. At 8 p.m., law enforcement started getting a better idea of the scope of the tragedy and warned everyone to shelter in place. Card's white Subaru was found at a boat launch in Lisbon just before 10 p.m. last night.
The senseless violence at both locations has left 18 people dead, 13 more injured. Hospital staff at Central Maine Medical Center in Lewiston are still working to save lives tonight. And as the search for Robert Card continues, it's an all-hands-on-deck effort by local, state, and federal agencies.
And that includes with some help from Connecticut. Fox 61's Gabby Molina joins us in studio tonight with more on what goes into a manhunt at this scale. Gabby.
Well, Brent and Sarah, tonight I spoke with a criminal justice expert who said with today's technology, even in the most rural areas, law enforcement has the tools to find someone. However, how long that could take is still unknown. Where is mass shooting suspect Robert Card? The man police believe is armed and dangerous, still on the loose.
If there was ever a dangerous guy out there, he's the poster child for that.
Mike Lawler, an associate professor of criminal justice at the University of New Haven, says as the area in and around Lewiston, Maine remains on lockdown, the search intensifies.
The good part about this part of Maine is very sparsely populated, so it's not like you're managing a huge population. The bad part is it's also very rural, so there's lots of places to hide and go to ground, as they say.
Lawler says law enforcement is tasked with figuring out how far the suspect could have gotten after abandoning the car he had shortly after the shooting. And while he may still be in the immediate area, nothing can be ruled out just yet.
New York City police were been issued this guy's photograph just in case he shows up in the city. So I think there's every reason to think he could be anywhere in the Northeast.
On the ground in Maine, local law enforcement has been joined by state and federal agencies to help with the search.
I had a call from the deputy director of the FBI who told me that there are 80 FBI agents on site participating in the search for the killer.
Robert Fuller, special agent in charge at the New Haven FBI, said in part in a statement, "We've deployed New Haven Field Division FBI investigative personnel to Maine in support of their search efforts and any additional assistance that may be needed." Lawler says there is a chance the suspect is already deceased.
Yeah, I think it's somewhat likely that he's no longer alive. Typically in this situation, people are inclined to take their own life. So we'll see. But in the meantime, you have to be cautious.
And that his behavior could point to that possibility.
Apparently wasn't concerned about being identified because he wasn't hiding his identity in any way, nor was he wearing body armor or anything like that.
I spoke to Connecticut State Police tonight as well, who says they're monitoring the situation and remain in close contact with law enforcement partners. And if asked, they are ready to assist in Maine. In the studio, Gabby Molina, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
All right, Gabby, thank you. And as has happened every time there's been a mass shooting, and there have been so many, the Maine shooting has reignited the debate over gun rights and gun control. This year alone, gun violence researchers have tracked 565 mass shootings Lewiston is number 566. That statistic is devastating for gun control advocates in Sandy Hook, re-traumatizing. A major concern for gun rights supporters is inadequate systems for contending with mental health issues. And while the state has made historic investments in the past, that funding is in danger of drying up next year.
I think post-COVID, we've seen the explosion in problems with mental health.
Most people with mental health issues are more likely to be victims than they are to be perpetrators of violence.
Now, to address the issue of gun violence, Connecticut's hospitals are holding voluntary gun buyback events across the state where gun owners can turn in guns for a gift card, no questions asked.
Fox 61 will, of course, be keeping you up to date on the latest coming out of Maine and the national reaction. You can scan the QR code there on your screen to get a link to download our free Fox 61 News app.
All right, turning to the weather now, and another day in a stretch of warm days here in Connecticut.
So beautiful today. Rachel, I really feel like this is the last hurrah, though. We really got to enjoy it.
Absolutely. Today we ended up tying the record in Bridgeport, so it goes to show you as to just how warm this is for this time of year, and 1 degree shy of the record in Hartford. We have 2 more days just like it before temperatures come crashing back down to an October reality. The last time it was this warm was 21 days ago. Here's a look at high temperatures across the state, not just for Hartford and New Haven, but for other areas too that made it close to 80 degrees today. And it is still incredibly warm outside tonight. We're actually above the average high temperature for this time of year right now. Taking a look at the satellite and radar, you'll see we've built in some clouds here over the last several hours or so, and I do think we're going to start the day off with some cloudiness tomorrow. Overnight lows will only dip back into the 50s as we head towards daybreak, so mostly cloudy to start, but then we break for sunshine and we do it all over again in the afternoon with highs in the mid 70s to near 80 degrees. Saturday looks even brighter, and then we'll talk about that October reality and even some of the coldest temperatures we've seen so far this season heading into next week coming up.
Thank you, Rachel. After weeks of hearings, there are 8 men and 4 women set to make up the jury in the trial of Michelle Troconis. The final juror was selected this afternoon, and a trial date has been set for January 8th. Troconis is facing charges of conspiracy to commit murder, hindering prosecution, and tampering with physical evidence, all in connection with the disappearance of Jennifer Farber-Dulos. Troconis will be back in court December 11th for the judge to hear additional motions filed by her attorneys.
7 years after going missing on a fishing trip with her son, Linda Carmen has been officially declared dead by a judge now. Police believe her son Nathan was responsible for her disappearance. They were fishing off Block Island back in September of 2016, and she was never seen again. Nathan committed suicide back in June of this year while in prison awaiting trial on federal charges in connection with his mother's death. And now a Fox 61 follow-up almost 3 weeks after a Puerto Rican landscaper and his worker were harassed with racist taunts by a Middletown couple. They met again in court today. Video of the encounter shot by Jose Martin went viral. That video and court documents were presented as evidence against Robert Shaw and Sharon Bourgeois Williams today in Middletown Superior Court. They are charged with disorderly conduct. Martin says he has received support from Middletown and beyond.
When I received those phone calls, it made me feel stronger.
That behavior did not represent Middletown, and we will not stop calling it out.
Lapos designed T-shirts to show support for Martin and his worker Leo. As for the couple, they claim they were drunk and told police they know they were in the wrong.
Now to a Fox 61 exclusive. A man in Manchester says his truck was vandalized late Tuesday night. He woke up to 2 swastikas on his truck window, plus other damage to his property. This happened just steps from the Manchester Police Department. Fox 61's Carmen Chow has the story from Manchester.
This black truck behind me is the one that was vandalized Tuesday night on Princeton Street. The owner telling me he spent a lot of money fixing it up, and now he has to spend even more money.
I was extremely mad.
Justin Martin, like many others on a late Tuesday night, was asleep, but some vandals were wide awake shortly before midnight. Martin's neighbor across the street captured this on their Ring camera. Princeton Street was dark, but then Martin's motion-activated floodlight turned on when the vandals targeted his black truck. The crime was committed in just a matter of minutes.
Opened the doors, did the couple swastikas and left in 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Wednesday early morning, he woke up to this. 2 swastikas on his driver's side window, and all 3 of his garbage cans and political yard signs were thrown on top of his truck. The vandals also broke into his truck. Martin believes he was specifically targeted.
Whether it was from somebody who I've known, who maybe I stopped talking to because I didn't like them or they didn't like me, or if it's someone who's seen my general appearance or the truck. Like, it's not like the truck's not intimidating. It's loud, it's big, it's slow.
Neighbors on Princeton Street describing it as a peaceful area.
I think it's just people starving for attention.
The yard sign says Martin thinking this crime was politically motivated.
I must be a white supremacist, and how I should vote Democrat because that's the right thing to do. And I'm not a Democrat nor a Republican.
Fox 61 reached out to Manchester Mayor Jay Moran, who said in a statement, quote, Manchester stands together in solidarity to decry hate, denounce scapegoating, and ensure that rising extremism not be mainstreamed or normalized. So far, police have not announced any arrests, but if you witness any similar suspicious activity, you're urged to reach out to Manchester Police immediately. Reporting in Manchester, Carmen Chow, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.